Let us talk about death. Death, in all of its glory, has been defeated. First of all, what is death? Death is a failure, a state of non existence, a state of uselessness. Death is a shortcoming. Anyone who accepts death has accepted failure. If Christ is your source of life and rejuvenation, then why accept a limitation? Did the supplier of life announce that he is tired of supplying and that everyone should lose hope in life? The glory of death, the defeat of death. Death in all of its glory has been defeated. Death keeps ringing bells, and many people seem to like the sounds of the bells. Why should the sound of destruction be welcomed among humanity? Why should failure be celebrated? The existence of death is as a result of the fall of man. Death came into existence because man departed from God, and the existence of death depends solely on the existence of sin. Before sin entered the world, death had no authority over man. Death was never part of God's original design plan for humanity. But the moment sin entered, death entered with it. And ever since then, death has ruled over generations like a tyrant, feeding upon the weakness and corruption of mankind. Was it not written that death is an enemy? Was it not also written that the last enemy to be defeated is death? Why then do men behave as though death has suddenly become a friend? Death has even built its mansions in churches and among the greatest circles of the world. Accepting death has become a requirement for belonging. Death is now treated as a criterion for greatness. Accepting death has become a doorway into systems, powers, and positions. Humanity no longer fights death. Humanity now welcomes it. Death has been so celebrated that anyone who stands to challenge it is presumed to be an enemy. The people considered most rebellious are those who see death as an enemy and are courageous enough to challenge it. Such people are considered dangerous and harmful to the system. The world places such individuals on death row and begins to attack them because death itself has become a requirement for belonging. Like how? But how can death become a requirement for existence? How can destruction become the qualification for acceptance? Will there truly be existence where death is the foundation? And if anyone stands to challenge death, that person is immediately seen as rebellious, stubborn, dangerous, or out of order. Society has become so deeply united with death that opposing it now appears abnormal. Men have adjusted themselves to darkness for so long that light itself now appears offensive to them. But how did death succeed in occupying even the place of worship? Human sacrifices has never been the way of God. Yet in today's world, the biggest churches offer the biggest human sacrifices. Blood is consumed as though it were Holy Communion, while vampires move like sheep. It is indeed wolves in sheep clothing. Men appear gentle outwardly, yet inwardly they feed upon destinies, souls, glory, and lives, while pretending to represent God. The painful thing is that even those who claim to know God have become comfortable with death. Men sing about heaven while still partnering with the very thing that gives death strength. Churches mourn death, yet continue protecting sin. Systems reject righteousness, yet complain about destruction. Humanity keeps watering the root of death while praying against its fruit. Death feeds on sin. Wherever corruption grows, death grows. Wherever wickedness is celebrated, death establishes its throne. Death has entered government, homes, churches, relationships, and even the hearts of men. It has swallowed kings, children, warriors, rich men, poor men, and entire nations. Generations have lived under its shadow, trembling before the grave as though death were eternal. But death is not eternal. Jesus came into the world Not merely to teach morality, no, to gather followers. He came to confront death. Eyes were opened, crippled legs walked, and even graves released their captives. When Lazarus was buried, death believed it had secured another victory. Mourners cried. Hopelessness filled the atmosphere, and the grave stood proudly before men. Then Jesus arrived. With one command, eternity spoke against the authority of death. Lazarus walked out of the grave because death cannot hold what God calls back to life. That miracle was not just compassion toward the grieving family. It was a warning to death itself. Then came the cross. When Jesus was crucified, darkness celebrated. Hell believed it had conquered the Son of God. The grave opened its mouth, expecting another prisoner, just as it had done to countless others before him. For 3 days, silence covered the earth, and it appeared as though death had won. But death made a mistake. Death only has authority where sin exists. And Christ carried no corruption within him. He was spotless, pure, and undefiled. The grave could not hold him because death has no legal power over righteousness. Then came the resurrection. The stone was rolled away, and the greatest enemy of mankind was publicly humiliated. Death lost its grip on Christ, and through him, humanity received the revelation that death itself could be defeated. Yet, the world still celebrates what heaven calls an enemy. People now protect sin more than they protect life. Men are willing to destroy souls, corrupt destinies, and sacrifice righteousness just to gain temporary power within systems already ruled by death. Humanity keeps embracing darkness while asking God for peace. But the defeat of death is already reaping. I challenge you today to rise in the boldness of Christ's victory and challenge death. Today, we often pray in the Lord's Prayer, let your kingdom come, let your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Yet many do not practice a life worthy of Zion's nature. We do not live as though we are prepared to welcome Zion upon the earth. Begin to challenge mortality, because mortality is corruption. Embrace immortality, embrace life, embrace ascension. Death is not the only exit from the earth, and death should never be celebrated. Proclaim immortality. Preserve your physical body. I said preserve your physical body. Reject death and accept eternal life. Reject participating in systems that accept death as a requirement for belonging, power, or existence. One day, death itself will bow before God. The grave will release everything it has swallowed, and the enemy that terrified generations will face final judgment. Then all creation will understand that death was never a friend to man. Death is an enemy, and Christ is its conqueror. Conquer death today. Rise above it. Rise above limitation.